Yeah, what is up, everybody? It is your boy MM2K of PNTS Network, Hard Knock Digital Culture, Geeks, Cloud Dosage, you name it, I am there. And we are back with a special show, an NRO mic check. Yes, we are here. Hold on, give me a few moments because I still didn't reach out to everybody that I wanted to. You know, I got to hit the Ron Slushers of the world, the Cold Bloods. I got to let them know when we're live. Yeah, I mean. Let me see, Cold Blood Sensei. And there's some other things I want to talk to you about in regards to Cold Blood because my man is doing it on the scenes. Let's see, who else we got? We got N7. I want to send N7 Spectre something. My homie Lo-Fi Monk. Who else? Sean the Gamer. And my brother Reverend Woods. Always showing that love. All right. And I think I got, let's get Squid up in here as well. All right. Let's post that. We are live. All right. And we are live in two places. You can listen to us via the NRO podcast home on Hard Knock Digital Culture. That's at twitch.tv/Mighty Most 2000. You can listen to us there. Or if you're part of the Discord, you can come to the stage and check me out via the Discord if you'd rather listen to it that way, because we understand that Twitch doesn't always work for everybody. But I, again, want to say thank you for coming. We appreciate everybody being here. We got a hell of a show for you. We're going to talk about it. Is the Xbox tax, has it now consumed PlayStation? Is there now a PlayStation tax that we now have to be concerned about? We got to talk about it. Did we just see the PlayStation tax rear its ugly head? There's been this issue, my friends, with poor journalism. And now it's crossed over to just poor news cascading all together. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the revelations that have led us to the advent of content creation today, where we now have entities that are just your everyday Joe Schmo like myself, that just grab a mic, they grab a Yeti, they go live, and they start talking smack about their favorite game or their favorite brand or whatever the case may be. We have a lot of that going on right now. And it started off as a breath of fresh air to a lot of the sloppy journalism that was going on out there. The problem is that when you have sloppy journalism and people are the wiser, then you approach a publication and you say, hold on, you're reporting on XYZ and that's not right. What you're reporting is wrong. So then company has to retract said, thing if there's too much blowback. If there's too much blowback, said company, because they're an independent company, an independent source, they're going to have to make a retraction. And we saw that this weekend over the story that we're going to talk about. They got to do it, right? Because they're in it for clicks. They're in it for the advertisement. They want to keep their SEO score up, and ratings online and stuff like that really go against that SEO score. If things are too bad or a certain rating deters people from clicking on said platform, right? Because that's what happens in the journalist world. When people don't trust the information that's being cascaded from a journalist standpoint, they won't interact with the article. They may interact with you on Twitter. They may make videos about you. You know, we'll get into that content creation side of it later. But they will not interact with your article. That hurts the mainstay for the article, because the article feeds off of clicks. So when there are no clicks, that messes with the revenue of said publication, messes with the brand. Retractions are made. That's if something is false. Now, we've seen at times where things weren't even false, but if there was enough pushback from a certain group or whatever, we've seen that with Nintendo and GameSpot years ago, that they'll make a retraction. We even seen it, PlayStation fans, when y'all got upset over Uncharted 4. I think they didn't have a certain rating, Metacritic rating. And I believe it was it IGN, Cold Blood? They changed their score. Somebody did something. So it will happen. And that's where, again, you'll still get the sloppy journalism. It still requires you to notice it and then gather around and do something about it. But at least there's some type of fathomable recourse to get said publication or said article to, be retracted or whatever, because that pay loop for that article and the brand of that publication is the clicks. And if people feel like they cannot trust a publication or an article, too many negative, reviews, too much filtering away from the article or whatever, and people just piling on the said article on Twitter and not clicking on the article, that's going to cause a problem for the publication writer, or they will retract something, right? That's what you get with publications, okay? It's different when you're dealing with content creators, so therefore that's a worse avenue. That's a bigger problem when you have false information. I'm gonna get into that a little bit, but I want to give a shout out to my brother Cold Blood Sensei in the chat. He says, why is there a countdown if you can start immediately after it's 0? Shut up. Next up, he says, you don't have to tell me, I'm already here as always. All right, so with that said, here's the issue with content creators. If I make a YouTube video, as I'm about to show you, over some bogus stuff, and you're angry about it, I actually get rewarded. Thumbs down or negative connotation on a video actually increases your SEO score for a content creator, because a content creator just simply wants clicks. And when it comes to social media, negativity drives a lot of attention. And if that's driving a lot of attention to your videos, guess what then happens? Said social media platform, all they need to do is riddle that place with ads, and everybody wins. The angry poster gets to lash out at you. The content creator gets a whole bunch of clicks on their pieces of content, so therefore their revenue goes up. And then said revenue goes up ultimately for the ad placer and the social media platform. So negativity, even though it can work for a publication and for a YouTube creator, there's less blowback, because if I put false stuff out there, guess what happens? I get to click, and that's more important and less damaging to me, because unlike the news article place, you're going to react on my video. You're going to click on my video just so you know what I'm saying? Just so you can come at me. And the thumbs down on my video versus like an SEO score for an article, it's not damaging to me. I'm actually rewarded, because whether you give someone a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's signaling to YouTube that it's causing a reaction from you. Prime example. One of my most successful videos on this channel is a video that I did where I was talking about the first remnant. And I was excited that the first remnant was coming out. And I felt like that remnant was not getting enough attention. So I watched some videos. I was watching like different like YouTube stuff about remnant, and I got excited and I said, you know what? I'm going to help in the push for this game, because these are the type of games that I like, and I don't think they get enough attention. So I simply labeled my video, you don't want to miss this one, Remnant, right? Now, what I didn't realize at the time is that the way that I titled that, I titled the video that way. And then I also went in the Remnant Discord thinking, okay, now I'm going to drop this video about this game that is pro Remnant. A bunch of us are in this Discord because we're celebrating the game. We're celebrating the game that hasn't been released yet, mind you. And we're celebrating this game, and we feel like it deserves more attention or whatever, and we're talking about it. So I'm going to drop a video on my channel that does exactly that, right? Mind you, the game is not out yet. So I thought this was just common sense. Apparently it wasn't. Common sense isn't common. When I put the video out there, I started noticing, and I feel like it was a well put together video. When I watched, the video started getting a whole bunch of thumbs down. Nobody was leaving comments. I didn't understand why. It was just getting a bunch of thumbs down. And I said, hold on, I thought this video was was pretty good. Here, then finally people started putting comments finally after the fact, and they're like, there's no gameplay. Where's the game? And I'm like, hold on. Why would you expect gameplay and the game's not even out yet? And then I started thinking about it. I said, you know what? Maybe it's because the way I worded it, that the average person that's not familiar with this game or doesn't know the story or the backdrop of the game and when it's releasing, maybe they're doing that. Maybe I need to rephrase this to do so. But then something said, go back to the Discord. And I went back to the Discord and I looked at the reactions to my post. And then I realized that most of that negative connotation was coming from the Discord. And I'm like, hold on, these people are smarter than this. I'm under 1,000 subscribers. I don't have the game. I'm just talking about the game in a video format that we're doing in the Discord. And I plopped it in here because I felt like this is something that'll help in the promotion that we're all talking about in this Discord. But everybody kept thumbing down the video. And I'm like, damn, this is bad. So I'm thinking of ways of trying to counteract this. I thought about removing the video, but then I started noticing the analytics, and the video was getting more and more impressions, more and more views. And again, to date, it's one of my best videos on the channel. Now, you can't see the thumbs down. The thumbs down outweigh the thumbs up like 5-1. But do you see what I'm saying? That negative reaction told YouTube, you know what? People don't like the response here to a degree where it's making them respond. They actually feel like that they got to respond to this. When you click and you leave a post, whether it's positive or negative, YouTube just looks at that as a reaction. And because they're looking at it as a reaction, they're like, this is stirring up a lot of engagement and interest in this video, whether it's negative or positive. We're going to place ads here. And that's what they did. So whether the connotation is positive or negative when it comes to social media always does better regardless of how the engagement is. Now, it does better for everybody involved no matter what the engagement is. The only exception would be Twitch. Twitter, where, Twitter now has a paid for system, engagement system, like if you have Twitter Blue. And then what happens is, if you get a whole bunch of engagements, they'll pay you via Twitter Blue. But guess what? If you get a community notes on your post saying that this isn't true or this isn't factual, they will cut off the engagement. They will either cut off the engagement or they will simply just remove the stipend that you would get, and you won't get paid for the post. So that's the only place where negative stuff can affect you. But besides that, negative, fake, false stuff on social media doesn't have any backside at all. So we've gone from a place to where we didn't trust journalism. We didn't trust journalists. So because of that, we started going to content creators, which I think was at first a great way to counteract all the lies and stuff that we were being told on the from the journalists, from the lies and the sloppy reporting that we were being told from the journalists. But now creators are trying to mask fake news, false information, and they're just trying to spur a reaction from you. Like my one friend, he's a what do they call that? What do you call those people? The doomsday prepper. He is a big, he has every single piece of arsenal under the sun. He couldn't get the permit to design a bunker in his house because of so now he's going to design a bunker somewhere. He's practicing MMA. He's going to grow a farm somewhere, and he'll show me these videos where, like, when the final day comes, you got to eat mealworms to maintain your protein. And this doomsday prepper community on YouTube is humongous. They're huge. They dwarf the game community extensively. This doomsday prepper stuff is serious. And he'll send me videos all the time. I don't pay attention to them, but he sends me videos about eating mealworms and getting how to get your mealworms up, and how the American currency, like any day now, like, I can go back months and show you where he sent me videos where they're like, the US currency is going to fall to its lowest penny in 5 days, and stuff like that. All this doomsday prepper stuff, again, and everything is designed to make it seem like that the end of the world is coming in, like I said, 5 days or a week. It's happening Tuesday. It's happening tomorrow. The breakdown, not the civil war, but the war, the government war is happening today. All this stuff, none of it true. But because of the engagement, it is like, it's like a minefield. It's like a gold mine for these people. And so they just keep pumping out the material, and my friend keeps sending it to me, and I just look at it and go, But it's a gold mine for these people. Don't get the ham lunch meat because it's filled with nano chips to take over your brain. Literally, like that's one of the videos that he sent me. Now, I'm not, again, if you want to be a doomsday prepper and you believe that the government is going to collapse or whatever, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know anything about that. The lying aspect of it is, it's happening tomorrow. It's happening this week. Gasoline is going to shoot up to $30 on Wednesday. Like, all this lying It's not just clickbait because that's the thesis of the video in the thumbnail, but in the actual video, that's what they're saying. It's happening tomorrow, 5 hours from now. Hurry up and get ready. And then to sell the gimmick, the person who has a Yeti, by the way, but the guy will be sitting in his car, right, in the woods. There's this one guy, he's sitting in the car in the woods like he's prepping to go to his bunker, and he's holding a mic, right? That's not, and it has a wire to it. But it's not, you can tell it's not active, it's not connected to anything. But he's trying to make the situation seem so dire. So he's in his rusty, busted ass pickup truck or whatever. And he's always, so in 5 hours, the, so-and-so government from this country, they're going to degrade the American currency to where the dollar will now be less than a penny. And bread and potatoes are going to skyrocket to $30 a bag or a loaf or whatever. And they're going to pump the cereal full of nitrates or whatever and nano chips So we're heading out to the bunker, guys. I just wanted to do a YouTube video before they shut it down. All the stuff. They do it every day. And it just sells on YouTube, literally. Ads and stuff, it's crazy stuff, right? Well, it's no different in the gaming world. It is no different in the gaming world. There are people selling you bogus stuff every day, and I'm going to show it to you. But what they use marketing ploys for this stuff. Like the marketing ploy over there is that it's happening in hours, in days. The marketing ploy over here is that there's an Xbox tax. Right? Or PlayStation is money hatting. PlayStation is money hatting Xbox games or games away from Xbox, right? The creators went from filling the gap in the lazy work that journalists used to do. They went from that to now deceiving you even more than the journalists. And because the journalist wants the clicks, now what they do is now they're doing lazy journalism and they're actually reporting the lies from the content creators. And there are no bounds. That's why I labeled this, is there a PlayStation tax? And did it rear its ugly head? Because there is no PlayStation tax. There is no Xbox tax. It's content creator lies and agenda writing and poor journalism. That's what it is. And it doesn't matter who you are. Whatever is effective sells. It doesn't matter if you're Xbox or PlayStation. If at a particular moment sharing negative information on Xbox gets clicks, that's who'll get the clicks. If at the moment making it look like that PlayStation is falling off its mighty throne is plausible and gets clicks, that's what they promote. Journalism has failed us. It led to the content creators supposedly filling in that gap. But the content creator said, you know what? F it. Why am I going to limit myself to being factual and living off some type of ethics while the journalists live it up financially off of spreading lies? I'm going to do it too. Because there's no downside for me. So now you have content creators that purely were PlayStation people. purely PlayStation minded. Everything that they adored about PlayStation versus Xbox is more prominent now. If they like Xbox better than they did last gen, that's understandable. But when you look at some of the biggest Xbox content creators, opposite of like a Cold Eastwood or a Diller Gaming, who've always been pro Xbox, when you look at some of the others that are new in this game, they started surfacing around the last few years, you will find that the majority of them were pro PlayStation. And what they do is they assess things like how I assessed it a few years back. I remember talking to, I guess you could say they're a more prominent Xbox creator now. When I worked with them, I told them years ago, I said, you need to do a podcast. They weren't sure, but I said, trust me, you need to. I said, dude, even though I'm not for Xbox, the fact that you are, and the fact that Xbox gamers are going to be dying, they're salivating to fight back next gen and fight back against PlayStation. Like it's going to be, I don't want to say an unstoppable force, but it's going to be a very hefty force, and they're going to be out for blood. I said, you could be a leader in that cause. It'll be so, you know what I'm saying? I didn't use the word profitable, but I used the word, it would be such a boost for you. I can't remember the exact word that I used. And they were like, yeah, man, that's right. You're absolutely right. It will be huge for us. But, and then they actually, they sat on it. Then they got a couple of kicks in the pants down the road, and they finally did it, and the sky's the limit now. A lot of us foresaw this moment back in, and I think I had this conversation in 2018, maybe early 2019. We foresaw this all the way back then. We knew this was going to happen. And so did they. So what did they do? They laced their boots up and all of a sudden became Xbox guys. And now little by little they're being exposed. Footage is coming out showing their affinity for PlayStation and showing the fact they're not even playing these Xbox games. And then in one instance, I just saw over the weekend, somebody seriously trying to placate to the PlayStation crowd and say stuff that they didn't say before. They never said before in front of their own people on a consistent basis. Pretty much, what do you call it? Debunking their own content. And I know the excuse that's going to be made is, oh no, this is salt content. This is salt mining. The dumb, stupid, corny phrase. This is just salt mining. You're not supposed to take everything seriously. Ha 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 ha. But if you're not supposed to take what you're saying seriously, then why is it that you're allowed to take and nitpick everything that everybody else is saying seriously? Like, why do you always have an escape hatch? Why is it that when you get caught in something, you don't get to be held accountable for it, but you can hold everybody else accountable for it? It's like these creators that say, oh, these are just jokes. But when you mention them or you say something about them, they go ballistic. It's a hypocritical stance with no level of accountability meant to just pilfer you. I was talking to Cold Blood earlier off the air about the same creator that went online and did a show with PlayStation people and started sounding like their old PlayStation self again. Like there was, there wasn't this confidence in, hey, look, things may not be perfect over at Xbox land, but you know what I'm saying? Like they're on the right track and they're doing it right. It was like, well, I mean, I like some of the things that they're saying. Like there was a lot of placating to the PlayStation community. And I said, I think, they're a bigger fraud than some of the more prominent Xbox people that sit there and tell you that a complete mid-gen refresh is coming next year. You know what I'm saying? When there's no evidence that sock and chips were purchased for a complete mid-gen refresh like the Xbox One X. You know what I'm talking about. The same people that told you that Redfall was a great game, and then when it launched, they were like, yeah, there was something fishy. Those people believe in the Xbox brand. They believe there's this turnaround. They just idiotically think it's their job to keep you engaged until that turnaround happens. But believe you me, they feel like that all this stupid stuff that they've been saying, even though it may not be factual, it's going to come to pass at some point. They're just going to twist the facts a little bit and over-exaggerate here until that moment happens, because all the lies and all the deception that they created, it's going to pay off. These other new creators that are out to just pilfer you, they don't believe the stuff that they're saying. They're just selling you sludge and snake oil because it's profitable for them. They understood, just like I did 2018, 2019, how much more profitable the over-exaggeration and stuff would be this time around. So because of that, now we've created this situation that led to this past weekend. What happened this past weekend, MM2K? Let me see. I'm about to show you. If I can find the right tab. That's not the right tab either. Hold on. So I'm going to show you guys what happened this past weekend. Okay. What happened was, this creator, RGT85, created a video where he said, here it goes right here. It says, Sony says it's illegal to sell your PlayStation 5 games. And in his video, he made it seem like this was something new that was being thrown in there, that it was, horrible. And, this is something crazy that PlayStation is now enacting. And it's just a greedy PlayStation rearing its ugly head. And I fought back against this notion because Spawn Wave, and I'm not a fan of these people. I don't follow these creators with these big numbers next to them, because the overwhelming majority of them, again, just profit off of creating hysteria. They don't do proper research. These are not the people that fill in the gaps on the lazy journalism from the publications. They just create a new brand of misinformation to create this pile-on effect. There are people like Spawn Wave, people like Yang Ye. And then I don't really follow this RGT person all like that, but I see a lot of his tweets, and it's just sensationalism without the follow through and the research, right? I don't follow people like that. And you saw some of that in this video. But his video was getting a lot of traction, right? At the time of this, it was 46,187 views. And he says, this is pretty wild. What is wild? Because as it was later revealed, this is something that's been in the terms of service since 2013 when it over the PlayStation 4 products. And it was just basically about, a store trying to resell physical games, you know what I'm saying, from a retail level, not like a used games thing, but like if I buy, let's just say if I buy a game from GameStop and then I go and I resell it again on, in this original packaging at a retail level of like, and I try to upmark the price, it's certain protections like that, because when you're selling PlayStation games or when you're selling Xbox games, and they have similar terms of services, when you try to sell it at a retail first-hand level and you don't have an established relationship with PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo, and you're known for some fuddy-duddy stuff or whatever, that hurts their brand. Things that you're doing, as far as selling their games from a first-hand level or giving an appearance that you're selling it first-hand, that could fall back and that could cause problems with PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo. So terms of services have been updated to reflect that and other things. It's not about if I walk into, like, we got a place called the Record Exchange, or the Exchange. Now it's called the Exchange around here. It's prominent in Pennsylvania and Ohio, where you walk into an exchange and you try to buy a used PlayStation game. The feds aren't swooping in through the roof talking about we got them. It's not happening. They're talking about like first-hand sales, reselling it first-hand, and all, a bunch of other stuff that doesn't relate to second-hand selling. Right? He says that you are able to sell or share your disc PlayStation 4 products, including in EU. This was something that was settled in 2013 over the same terms. But guess what happened? Instead of that ending it there, it had life over the whole weekend, and it's even spilling into the content and stuff that's being cascaded and talked about this week, right? And it caused, because publications didn't do their homework, even publications that I trust, because they give you behind the scenes stuff. Publications like Insider Gaming that are associated to Tom Henderson, who's a known source haver for PlayStation related products and services. Even his publication ran with this story, and they had to do a retraction. So let's read their story, right? It says the PlayStation's banning the resale of physical PlayStation 5 games terms is 10 years old. It says yesterday rumors began to circulate online that PlayStation introduces a new clause that would ban the resale of physical PlayStation 5 games. Now, I want you guys to listen to how this article frames the rumor, their reporting of the rumor, and now the fallout from them reporting this rumor. I want you guys to pay attention to this because this is important. In an effort to bring you the latest news as fast as possible, Insider Gaming also reported on this apparent breaking news late on a Sunday night as it was unfolding. It says it appears that the news first originated from YouTuber RGT85 earlier in the day, which was subsequently reposted by multiple Twitter accounts. Now you see how this is being associated. Say, look, this didn't come from us. This came from said content creator who, again, didn't do his research, didn't do his homework, had something sensationalized that he could get YouTube videos on and clicks on it, and it was successful on his end because he got 46,000 views. And remember what I told you, even though this is false, it doesn't hurt the content creators. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't hurt them when the information is it doesn't hurt them when they sell this stuff. Hold on. So I'm going to here. I'm gonna mute. Hold on. Let me make sure that my desktop is muted. I gotta let this play because I just want to show you guys something. Okay, now we can skip this ad. Okay. All right. So now let's do this. I'm gonna share this video with you guys because I want to show you. All right. So this is the video. Sony says it's illegal to sell your PlayStation 5 games. That was a day ago, and there's 88,000 views. Now, comically enough, he has a follow-up video. And the follow-up video says this. The follow-up video says this. It says, it's not illegal to resell your PlayStation 5 games. And he says, did I make a huge mistake? Let's talk. Now, I'm not going to play the video, because we re-air our stuff on YouTube. And so I don't want a copyright strike or whatever, even though I feel like we would have fair use advantage on our side. But I'm not even going to play those games. So, but here you go. And he's actually using the PlayStation article as a, that we were just showing from Inside Gaming. He's actually using that as a response mechanism, I guess. Let me see, where's the comments at? It says, remember, my videos are discussion points. I don't think my words are fact. Listen, look at this. Remember, my videos are discussion points. I don't think of my word as fact. I want you to discuss and think of, stop it. This is absurd. Let's go back to his other video. Now he doesn't have any comments there. Maybe he did at one point in time. I don't think of my words as fact. But when you say things like this, Sony says it's illegal to sell your PlayStation 5 games. When you speak a matter of factly about anything, that supersedes whether you're trying to say, oh, my intent is just to have discussion points. Nothing that I say is it is factual. If nothing that you say is factual, and that's the premise that you're operating from, then why look at the thumbnail? Look at the title. That says enough. That speaks to intent. There is no question mark. Like, let me give you guys a prime example. Looking at my video right now, I said, did we just see the PlayStation tax come to life? And then when you look at my thumbnail that I have on YouTube, I don't just say the PlayStation tax is real. I say the PlayStation tax real? Question mark. Let me show you guys right here. Did we just see the PlayStation tax rear its ugly head? The PlayStation tax real? Now, going off my content it would still be fair game in a lot of people's minds if I just simply put on the thumbnail, the PlayStation tax is real, right? But then in my video, but in the actual video, when you listen to it, I'm telling you it's not real, or the PlayStation tax has emerged. And I don't put I don't put a question mark here. I'm speaking definitively. But here, this guy is speaking definitively in the thumbnail and in the title. But that's not it, folks. When you listen to the video, he's speaking definitively in the video. There is no indication that my video are just discussion points. That's baloney. The whole tone, the whole connotation of what he's saying is matter of fact. And that's what all these content creators do now. That's why I don't follow these numbers. It's very seldom, rather, that I follow these numbers. These guys with these numbers, because they get these numbers by being sensationalist. There are a few exceptions of people that have, moderately successful YouTube stints that are actually focused on telling you the truth. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna expose who they are. And I hate using the word expose, but I'm gonna tell you who they are later. Very few, you can count them on one hand. The majority of these people are just sensationalists. Now, it'd be different if they were doing this for comedic appeal. That's different. Or if they're known trolls. But these people get out here and they talk with this righteous indignation on YouTube and Twitter, and they speak so matter of fact, and it's wrong. They are liars. They are for sure liars. I want to do something. Hold on. I want to take my tweet. Because I got a tweet right here that's... Let me see. We're talking... Okay, I'm talking about this. Talking about the shameful reaction by creators and YouTube... no, creators and publications live now. Yeah. So there you have it. So many liars in this game. So many people that lie and they just get attention. They get clicks. That's what this is all about. He's not talking, he's not saying, oh, if this is true, they're talking matter of fact. So let's go back to what Insider Gaming had to say, because again, they passed the buck on bro. They threw bro under the bus. They said, okay, so they talk about RGT 85, and they say, seeing this PlayStation licensing agreement forbidding the resale of physical games that you own pop up again. No one complies with this, and it's unrealistic to think anyone would. It says, following the frenzy, Insider Gaming published an article on the news, and after a few minutes of our posting being live, the community revealed that this isn't a new term at all. Insider Gaming promptly removed the post, and it's now clarifying the news for our readers in the gaming community. Although it is a real term, it's not new. The term under PlayStation's term of service, you must not resell either disc-based games or digital games unless expressly authorized by us, and if the publisher is another company, additionally by the publisher. It's a term that circulated in the gaming community over a decade ago when it was updated for the PlayStation 4. Yada, yada, yada. After, as far as we're aware, the clause hasn't been changed or altered. in 10 years. More than that, this is a clause that's been in effect for some form of variation since the PlayStation 1. On Twitter, whereas Porn posted this picture, which is pretty much the same as the updated clause. Right? So it's showing you how it's been a clause that's been around since the PlayStation 1 days. So you're not banned from selling your physical PlayStation 5 games. Right? I think they would have, it would have been more of a journalistic retraction in a good way if they would have went and expressed and explained to people what this term actually means. But I think the biggest thing is they said, in an effort to bring you the latest news as fast as possible. That's the problem. That is the problem. Everybody's in a rush to get those clicks early and fast because that's how news reporting works as far as the most successful engagement. And they consider the most successful engagement just a lot of eyeballs. Whoever gets the most eyeballs. Well, because of that, they posted an article that was just based off of gibberish and hype and sensationalism. We expect the journalist to be more deep diving when it comes to this stuff than a content creator. Even though we falsely, especially in today's era, follow the content creator more than we do the journalist, because the content creator, has more hands-on experience, where I feel like a lot of these journalists don't even play games. That landscape has changed. Now you have a bunch of content creators that don't play games. They just want to be part of the discussion because it's lucrative for them. And think about it. At some level, publications do some low-level research for the most basic things. If I'm a content creator, and that's not even tweets, I could just say whatever I want. Just grab a couple of links, say whatever I want, formulate my own opinion on those things, and then go about my business. That's a problem. And now that we got content creators driving news articles where the content creator is actually incentivized in lying to you, and the journalists may have a bigger footprint, so they're just trying to go over and cascade what is going to create the most clicks. So if I get everybody riled up with lies, which is a lot easier to do than with the truth, because the truth has to be researched, confirmed, and double checked. But if I can get people riled up with lies, if I'm a news publication, I'm looking at that, that engagement, and I'm like, okay, there we go. There goes our clicks. What is now happening to the information that we're getting as gamers? What is now happening to the dissemination of that information? We are lied to so much because nobody wants to do research. They want to just get the most engagement. The overwhelming majority of not just content creators, but now, not just publications, but now content creators cannot be believed. Horrible chain of events. And I actually trusted, with a capital ED, I trusted Insider Gaming because of all the inside information that they got from PlayStation. I don't know what to believe. Even if you want to report on a rumor, report it as that, as a rumor. And say, at this point in time, we're going to keep our eyes on this, but we were not able to verify said information. Me personally, I wouldn't even want to report on anything like this. And I really didn't even want to talk about this, but this is part of a bigger problem, a bigger picture that needs to have the light shine on it. To focus more on the bigger problem, Again, as we showed you, that terms of service has been around for over a decade. We just showed you where it even showed up in the PlayStation 1 era, so even longer. It probably wasn't as fleshed out as it is now, because again, with the advent of the internet, more prominent and more scams and stuff, more so than ever. In 2013, they had to flesh it out even more. But I just want to show you some of the lies that are being spread by many in this community. And we just showed you how lies were being spread by content creators. But I also want to show you the lies that are being spread by journalists. Here, let's do this. And these lies have long-term effects because they're affecting people who purchase games. Like even if you have a preference, even though I have a preference of PlayStation when it comes to consoles, and I have a preference of GFN when it comes to cloud gaming, and the majority of the gaming that I do, if they do something wrong, I have to talk about it, and I got to be honest about it. Because even though I like what they're doing, I'm not using my platform to pad their mistakes. Everything needs to be transparent so they continue to do the things that you and I like. Covering things up for these publications or trying to downplay them starts creating a scenario where these companies say, we can get away with this, even if it was a mistake or not. Like, even if they made an honest mistake and it led to something unfavorable, it still needs to be talked about, exposed, and chastised where needs be if the ulterior path was more obvious. The ulterior, more successful path was obvious, but people were being bullheaded or stubborn, and they wanted to do, or they were trying to be slick, and they wanted to do XYZ instead of ABC when ABC made more sense. You never want to create a scenario where you tell a company or you make them feel, okay, we can get away with this. Because even if it was an honest mistake, companies are always looking for shortcuts. Shortcuts save them money, save them time. Money and time is precious. And the least that they got to spend on it in order to be successful, they're going to do it. Companies do it all the time. So when we have a situation where any of these platforms fall short, like I talked about NVIDIA GeForce Now, and not so much NVIDIA GeForce Now, but NVIDIA, when it came to the day before, I did not like the fact that they went beyond just regular promotion and saying, hey, look, this game is getting a lot of buzz and it's coming they're using NVIDIA GeForce tools, but they promoted them during a showcase. That gave validity to this project and it made it seem like that the tires were kicked a little bit more on it when they weren't. That's something that NVIDIA needs to look for, because again, I enjoy NVIDIA products. I love GeForce Now. I love their hardware. But if they're going to maintain that level of trust with the consumer, their word has to have some weight to it. And it doesn't have weight to it when you sit there and you give a kudos to something like the day before. So before you show it in a showcase, before you use the weight of your brand to uplift something that was clearly a scam, you better understand what it is that you're dealing with. So in that light, let's talk about the lies that journalists will do in contrast to what I just spoke of. Again, my favorite platforms, I have lambasted them more so than others. And I will continue to do it because I want them to stay on that trajectory that they're on. And I don't want them to feel like, oh, we can get away with anything. Perform your best in order to get the best. That being said, this poster put this out here. It says, never forget. So Destin Legary, this is a classic example of poor journalism circulating off of misinformation from content, from someone with an agenda. Now, this isn't so much a content creator that's at the root, that's the most guilty of this issue. This person is a journalist, but they're clearly a plant. Their clear objective is to just make sure that Xbox wins under any cost. And they will do that, and they will deceive people in the process. And that's kind of like what you see. Now, this person is doing this from an emotional standpoint because they just happen to like Microsoft and the Xbox brand. Content creators in parallel are doing it because it's lucrative for them. So let's get into it. Destin Legary, who's part of the lazy journalist crew, says, I don't think y'all realize the Xbox Series S is a big deal. 1440p at 120 is where it's at. This is at a time period where everybody was propagandizing that, the Xbox Series X and S were going to create the same level of fidelity, except the Series S was just going to do it at a lower resolution, and that both machines would outperform the PlayStation 5 in many core facets. Neither seem to be true, or they haven't come to be true. You could make the argument that the Series X could be outperforming the PlayStation 5 if the developers were to utilize the tool sets that were available and really flesh them out, and that they're not doing it because they don't want to put any extra effort. You could make that argument with the Series X and it'd be a plausible discussion. There's no plausibility around it with the Series S. The Series S is just a potato. It is a weaker machine. It is a second mid-gen. It is a mid-gen refresh of the Xbox One S. That's all. That's what its certain purpose it serves. It just happened to be versatile enough to be able to play Xbox games, Xbox Series games, because developers are being forced to make it that way. That's the story of the Series S. So this is being all propagandized around the time when people again are sitting there saying, no, the Series S is really going to be a 1440p up to 120 frames per second machine for a lot of ninth gen games. Shinobi responds to Destin's placating to this theory and saying, to be honest, I'll be shocked if we see next gen games at 1440p at 120 frames on Series S. And Jazz then says, prepare to be shocked. Now, to further elaborate on Jazz's point, I don't have it up now, but Jazz in a subsequent tweet said they were talking about, well, hold on, Shinobi's talking about next gen games. So Jazz further clarifies and says, well, all right, maybe the most photorealistic games like Starfield, you won't get 120 frames per second at 1440p. But you're going to get a lot of games at 1440p, 120 frames per capable on the Series S. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of what he was saying. That still gives the illusion that, hey, it might not, like Starfield might not be 1440p, 120 frames per second. Oh no. But, are we going to see 1080 60? That's probable. He says, prepare to be shocked. This is all feeding into propaganda that was not proven, that was actually being spoken against from developers and not being paid attention to by these journalists that have an agenda. We got more examples of this. What are these examples of this? Well, I want to send you guys, hold on. Let me make sure that I got the right articles up here. Okay, I want to send you guys to this. So, Tom Warren in a tweet in September of 2020 before the new console. Tom Warren has been the most egregious with this. Hi, Tom. Remember me? Me and Tom have a history because Tom was known to do some of these false reactions to Stadia when I covered Stadia. Now, granted, did Stadia end up closing and not realizing the potential that it had? And it's, as far as what they were expecting and what even cloud gamers were expecting by having such a short lifespan, yeah, they did. But my contention with Tom was regularly when he talked about the platform's capabilities and performance and how you engage with it and what it could do and what it was aiming to do, he was wrong the majority of the time. It was very rare that Tom was right when talking about Stadia. So it's not a thing about are you framing the thing that I like in a positive light. It is, are you factual? Because I listened to different takes from a whole bunch of people when it came to Stadia. I'll give you a prime example. There is a group called Rebel FM. They're the old GMR magazine and 7up people. They hated Stadia. They predicted correctly that Stadia is not going to last more than 5 years. I didn't agree with them in that assessment. But when they talked about Stadia's capabilities, they were spot on. One of the things that they talked about, and the guy's name, one of the main podcasters, his name was Arthur Giles. He's a big Xbox guy. Arthur said, look, I see a lot of my journalist peers and such talking about or laughing at Stadia's predictive controlling. They say it's a joke. It doesn't exist. It's not real. These same journalists don't realize that the predictive controlling that they're laughing at, they're already enjoying at a lesser degree. It's already in Call of Duty. He said, have you ever noticed when you're playing Call of Duty and you come around a corner and you just die before the guy even fires a shot? That's because the predictive controlling said, hey, look, you're about to die. There's no way around this. Just the timing of you being able to dodge, where he had the reticle aimed. You know what I'm saying? The fact that he's about to press the button, all that's predictive stuff that we see, right? You were going to die. So the predictive controlling just had you die out of sequence from when he pressed the button, but you were going to die. That's a lesser form of the predictive controlling, and a smarter form, a more accurate form of that was in the Stadia technology. They talked about that at length, even though they didn't have any faith in the platform's existence long term. They said it would die within 5 years, and they happened to be right about that. But I didn't agree with their opinionated, their suggestive thoughts on Stadia. the things that they spoke of objectively were spot on. So my problem with Tom Warren isn't that he didn't like Stadia, because Rebel FM is my favorite podcast when it comes to the mainstream gaming media. My problem with Tom Warren is he's loose with the facts, and he's always been like that. He was like that when he was an Xbox antagonizer. See, a lot of you are new to this and you think Tom Warren was always an Xbox fan. No, he's just another one who realized that the Xbox brand was profitable for content creators and publications to be in favor of. And so, to capitalize on that, he went from being an Xbox antagonizer that drew a lot of ire from people to now being an Xbox enthusiast. But the problem is that he's doing the same stuff that he did when he was the antagonist. He's not factually reporting stuff because he does lazy journalism. Journalism is not about creating a whole bunch of words or trying to drive home a sentiment that you think of in your head and trying to caveat facts to fit that sentiment. That's not what journalism is. Journalism is, look, there is a narrative and then there's reality. Let's bump the two together and do so by doing as much research as possible to help people understand how plausible the narrative is versus the reality. He doesn't do that. That's something elementary that I learned in high school when creating a thesis statement. Those of you that had any success in English class or any type of class relative to that, in writing papers and term papers and stuff like that, understand what a thesis statement is. A thesis statement is, here is the case that I'm arguing. Here are my supporting facts. Here is my rebuttal to my facts. Here is the rebuttal to my rebuttal. And then there is my conclusion. That is a thesis statement. When you write things in a thesis format, it keeps in balance and in check the thing that you're trying to promote. You guys don't understand how many subject matters that I thought of going live on, creating content on, that I could have created content on with minimum pushback, and it would have the channel booming so much more than it is now. But the context just didn't hold weight up against the facts, because when I got to the rebuttal section and looked at the things that I talked about, too much of it just didn't hold weight, didn't hold mustard, had to scrap everything. That is integrity in journalism. And I'm not even a journalist. I am a content creator that happens to own a journalist publication, and we make that type of fact-based quality control a must when we do our cloud dosage stuff. But they don't even agree with me on a lot of the things that I say subjectively. It's okay. As long as they are looking at things from a perspective that holds weight versus the facts, and they're clearly indicating their perspective view versus reporting news. There's a difference. There's a difference between perspective views and reporting the news. Reporting the news simply is telling you the raw facts, investigating, understanding what happened 100%. Boom. You can sprinkle in some, some theories or whatever on some things that are not 100% clear yet. Well, people theorize this, that. Here's what we were able to find. That's news reporting. Perspective views will take those facts and then try to get you to see a perspective based upon those facts that holds weight. Those are usually opinion columns, but then they don't necessarily have to be opinion columns. There are, there are articles that feed you a perspective that say, you know what, here are the facts. Here's what we feel this means. And there's nothing wrong with perspective reporting. That's what I did a lot when I talked about the aforementioned stadia. These are what the facts say to me based upon what we know. But as I always told you, based upon my 25 years experience in the Fortune 500 world, if you're not in that boardroom, you don't know what's going to happen. You never know. The problem with Tom Warren is that he speaks matter-of-factly. Hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. All right. So, he said Tom Warren was right. You just in denial. No, Tom Warren wasn't right. Arthur Giles was right. Because what Arthur was saying, here, let me see if I can find Arthur Giles. Arthur was saying was, look, this is not, he predicted the cyclical event that even Dov Zimmerig was predicting would happen. And I didn't deny the cyclical event when it came to Stadia. Let me see if I want to find Arthur Giles, because he's a great person to follow. Even if you don't, there he goes. Arthur Giles. He's a great person to follow, even if you don't agree with his subjective viewpoints. He's really based on facts. So let me put him up here. And he's an industry vet. It's like someone like Tom Warren. I just don't understand how he sees success, but Arthur doesn't. Like, Arthur is just as enthused over the Xbox brand. He is pro Xbox, but that's because there's things about the Xbox brand that he likes, but he's not going to lie. He's not going to make up stuff. Here's Arthur Giles. He's a former, he's a supervising editor at Wirecutter. Arthur Gears of War Retrospective, co-founder of Polygon, the video. Okay. I love Arthur Giles. And I'd really suggest you follow him. Again, you may not agree if you're not a fan of the Xbox product. You may not agree with his perspectives and his subjective. I'm sorry. You may not agree with his subjective connotations of what Xbox may do or may not do. but he's always going to keep it objectively tight and factual. Arthur predicted the cyclical event. He said, look, this thing will not launch well because it just does not, it does not have the hearts and the minds of the journalist. He said, because of that, it's then going to lead to publishers and developers saying, why should I bother with this? And he even knew about the chart of how cloud gaming's CAGR, he's a very smart guy. He knew about all that. And he said, even though cloud gaming is making these great strides as far as their return on investment, he said it's going to be too slow for Google. Google plays hot potato with stuff. If you're not familiar with hot potato, it's like a game where you got to somebody throws something to you, got to act like it's a potato, and you only got so much time before you toss it to somebody else or something like that. And they got to catch it or whatever. And whoever drops it, they lose. They play too much hot potato with stuff. Like if the potato doesn't cool down and if it make them feel comfortable within a short amount of time, then they dump it, they drop it. And that's what he was predicting. He said they're going to drop this thing. Now, many of us were looking at the fact that cloud business was too important for Google, and cloud gaming was going to be such a powerful part of the cloud business that they couldn't afford to get out of this, that this was a paid for service that they're less likely reluctant to get out of. You know what I mean? And we were looking at the fact that even though this is not seeing mass adoption already, it's because it hasn't reached its full maturation, which included YouTube. Once they merge this thing with YouTube, and then it doesn't, fly off the hand, doesn't go off, fly, doesn't see maturation and saturation, then you can say, okay, they're going to close their doors. I even took it a step further. I said 2023 is going to be a big year for cloud gaming. And let's see what they have in their pocket. If they can't make some strides in 2023, then I think 2024 is going to be an ominous year for the platform. That's what I said. You know what I mean? So I was a year off. Because once I looked at the reboot, I said, okay, they're rebooting right now because they realize that their strategy is not going to work because they haven't reached the level of saturation that they need. So when they did the reboot in 2021, I said, okay, but they look dedicated to rebooting the platform, but they're going to have to see some type of progress, some type of jump in 2023. And it's all going to be dependent upon how well these tools work. I expected them to at least give the tools a chance before things were to look ominous in 2024. That was my prediction. My prediction was off. Arthur and company looked at it and said, you know what? This is just not going to get mass consumption because of the way that it's being looked at in the media. And he was right. The media ultimately was the poison to this platform, because when I talked to people and I had them try Stadia, like all of them fell in love with it. Like I'll give you 3 prime examples. Prime example number 1 is Doc Dark. If you guys know who Doc Dark is, or you don't know, you need to know. Doc was someone that had just got on the scene. He was real big on Xbox, and I remember him making a video where he said that it looks like that this Stadia, when it comes to cloud gaming, it's not going anywhere because it doesn't perform as well. He was listening to people out in the media, people like Digital Foundry, who really were trying to put the foot on Stadia. They did not like the prospects of Stadia because Digital Foundry They said it themselves. They are pro-preservationists. Stadia was all about digital distribution over the cloud. No, I don't want to say ownership, but no license, no preservation, no physical preservation beyond their control. Digital Foundry didn't like that. They admitted to that. So they always looked at Stadia with some negative connotation. And we've had our own testers that debunked Digital Foundry all the time. When it came to latency and all that stuff, we were always debunking them. So there was that. And there was just a host of other people that always looked at the platform from a negative connotation, and there's no other way to say it. They lied about the platform's performance and its capabilities. So it was understandable that people like Doc Dark, everywhere you turn, if all these well-known publications are all saying the same thing, then you're going to believe that they're telling you the truth. Well, the fact of the matter is they just weren't doing their research, or they were lying because they did not like what Stadia represented. So fast forward, we introduce ourselves to Doc Dark. We say, look, you are somebody that I think honestly just made a mistake and don't understand what this platform is capable of or what it can do. How about this? I will buy you a subscription to Stadia. I'm going to buy you a Stadia Premier Kit, which was the Google Play dongle, or the Google Chrome dongle, Chromecast, and the controller, and I'll get you a subscription to Stadia for 3 months. He said, well, I don't know if you want to do that with me. He said, man, because I'm an Xbox guy, but I'm brutally honest. And then if I don't like this, I'm going to let you know. And I said, that's great, Doc, because Stadia needs to know what they need to do to penetrate and get through to gamers like yourself. Here, let's try it. Sent it to him. He loved it. He loved it. He said, and there was even a point in time where Doc was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play Stadia for games that I cannot get on Game Pass, or for games that I can play on the go. Because he's like, I go to the laundromat, I'm on the go gaming all the time. If it's a game that I really want to play on the go, I'm going to get it on Stadia first. And he said, for everything else, like if Stadia doesn't have it, then I'm going to get it on Xbox. That's what Doc said at one point in time. The second example is my own brother. My own brother saw what I was doing. I talked to him about it, and he was like that when it came to content creation, and then me, like in Stadia, and he was like, nah, dog, like I'm not yet. Nah, dog. He's like, I can't co-sign on that. He said, best of luck to you, but nah, I can't rock out with that, right? So I said, okay, cool, no problem. He wanted to play Cyberpunk 2077, right? Bad. But he did not have a PC that performed well enough to play Cyberpunk, right? So it was a month before No. It was a month before Cyberpunk was coming out. It was October. And he came up to visit me. And he surprised me. And I didn't know he was coming. And he came to visit me. And we were playing... I was playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint on Stadia. And I was playing it in 4K. I was on the dongle. I was on the living room, and I had a big, 75-inch TV at the Sony 75-inch TV at the time, Sony Bravia. And I was playing on there. And he was like, oh, man. He said, oh, you playing that Ghost Recon Breakpoint? He said, oh, man, this looks good. He said, you're playing at 60 frames per second, too? Oh, this looks great. He said, where's the PC at? Where's the computer? I said, there is no computer. He said, well, what are you playing on? I said, look behind the TV. He said, what? I said, look behind the TV. And he said, well, all I see is this little dongle thing. I don't see nothing behind the TV. So that's what I'm playing on. He said, what? I said, bro, this is Google Stadia. He said, huh? What? He's like, no, you're lying. I said, no, this is what I've been trying to tell you. And his jaw dropped. I had him playing some. He was amazed. I want to say the next month, he comes and surprises me again around Christmas. And I'm like, what's going on, bro? He's like, oh, man, I want to show you something. And he's showing me his Ring, the Ring app, where, you could, if you look on the Ring app, it'll show you what's going on at your house. And he shows me like a package. And I'm like, oh, you got, what's going on? What is it? He's like, bruh, that's my Stadia unit. I went and bought it. He said, bruh, I can't wait till Cyberpunk comes out. I'm going to play the game and love it on stage. Like, this is going to be my answer, right? And I'm like, dude, he was so excited. And then he was like, I already have one at home, but I got a second one for the wife coming. I said, see, dude, I told you, right? That's example 2. Example 3, shout out to the Broadband Bullies. One day I was in the Discord. Z wasn't there. I was in the Discord, and this is me at the height of my Stadia propaganda, right? And so I get there, and I'm talking to the people in the Broadband Bullies Discord. Mind you, they ridiculed your boy. They done shows on your boy, but he brought up Wooly, not Wooly. I forgot what the dude's name is from the UK. Brought him up, brought him on the show to show how I was scamming people with Stadia and all this stuff, right? All this crazy stuff, right? So I'm the laugh of the Discord. So I come in the Discord one day, and I'm talking to people, and we're going back and forth, whatever, just cutting up, ripping on each other. And so there was like 5 people in the Discord trying to debate me about Stadia. And I said, look, bro, you ain't got to believe what I'm saying out my mouth. I'm like, this is the thing about y'all. Stadia performs great with games. Go in. I gave him a link. And I said, you can try games for up to 30 minutes to an hour right now. Go ahead. And I gave him links when Stadia was having those demos, and you can try it. And I gave him links for him to try. And he said, okay, cool. And the dude tried it. He was the biggest, because he's a PC guy. And he was the biggest Stadia skeptic out of them all. So he tried them, came back in the Discord and was like, yo, bro, this is legit. I said, I told you. He said, man, this is great. He said, now what I can do, he said, it doesn't outperform my PC. He said, but when there's certain games that I want to play that I don't play all the time, I'm going to play them on Stadia instead of having to waste hard drive space on my PC. So he said, oh man. And then instantaneously, everybody in the chat, it was like 7 or 8 of us, they were talking pro Stadia. Yeah, well, I mean, I did hear that Stadia. No, before I say that, one of your favorite former broadband bullies, I ain't gonna say no names, you just connect the dots. One of your former favorite broadband bullies, podcast members, famously known for reporting on ABK, was in there as well. And this person said, well, yeah, I heard that Stadia technology was crazy. It's insane. And I said, that's all I'm saying to y'all. I'm not telling you to get rid of your console. I didn't get rid of my console. I bought a PlayStation 5 day one. When the RTX 30s cards came out, I got mine's like maybe a couple of weeks out. I'm still natively gaming, but I'm saying now Stadia fits into my gaming portfolio as my favorite way to play. But if a game isn't available on Stadia, I'm not going to miss out on it. It's not my one and only, bro. He was like, and everybody was like, oh, and they was quiet. And then I left. So when it comes to Stadia, everybody that I talked to personally, that I showed them, even when they were skeptic, when they got it in their hands, they loved it. Stadia's problem was they couldn't get the games. Why couldn't they get the games? Because the media was telling you, don't try this thing. It's a scam. Don't even wait. Even if it's free, don't waste your time. You would be amazed at how many people just wouldn't even take 10, 15 minutes to try it that already had a Google account. If you had a Google account, you already had access to Stadia as long as it was in your region. They wouldn't even try it. Had they tried it, they would have loved it. They would have gave it a chance. Stadia would have had more active users. There would have been more games on there, because we found out in the Business Insider article that was truthful that Stadia was supposed to reach, they were telling they were telling developers and publishers, we're going to reach 1 million active users. And that was supposed to be like the litmus to say, hey, look, when we meet 1 million active users, that means that we're going to blow other cloud gaming platforms out of the water. And therefore, that gives you trust into what we're doing. When they couldn't reach 1 million active users, the best that they could do was 750,000 and that was at the end of the year when Cyberpunk dropped. They still couldn't reach 1 million. When they couldn't get to 1 million active users, that's why they disbanded everything, because they're like, look, there's no purpose of us spending all this money to make this exclusive content. We got to be able to create a platform that can play the third-party content great first, because if we don't have great third-party content, there's no point of even taking a risk with our first-party content. So that's why they closed down all the first-party studios, and they were working on the tools. They were called the low change porting tools, meaning they were working on a way to convert these games that these what are they called? Windows X game or WinX games, Win10X or whatever games over to Vulkan API. And they were creating a tool set that would do it automatically. And that would require minimum involvement. So because of that focus, the low change porting was going to change, would have changed the trajectory. But then Stadia looked at the $1 trillion tech bubble that was coming, and they said, look, this is low-hanging fruit. This money that we're using to develop these tool sets, to maintain these servers, all that stuff, we just can't afford to get into this. That was their thought process. And they said, because of this $1 trillion tech bubble, we're going to have to cut back on this. Now, was that the right decision? Looking at the fact that now Call of Duty is coming to all cloud gaming platforms, looking at the low change porting now going into effect and them being able to get more games. No, it doesn't look like the right decision at all. They really fumbled right then and there. Looking at their cloud for gaming solutions, I don't even know who's partnering with them on that. It doesn't look like it was the right move at all, but that's why they did it. That was the issue with Tom Warren. Tom Warren just consistently got the information wrong. He wasn't reporting on that stuff like how Arthur Giles was. And Arthur Giles was following the patterns correctly. Tom was just sitting there blurting, well, xCloud and Stadia sucks. How was that deep diving into what's going on, letting you know the trajectory of things, letting you understand why XYZ is happening? How is that increasing your gaming IQ at all? It isn't. So that is our problem with Tom Warren. Now, enough about him. Here's the issue with some of the stuff that Tom Warren has been reporting. We can get back to that. So, rightfully so. Let me see. I just had the article out. So I thought, or did I not? No, I didn't have the article out. Okay. So let's use this. So he was called out here. He was called out here in this article because they says, why didn't you point out these facts though? Shilling comes before integrity. And it says Microsoft has confirmed that the Series S uses the same CPU as the Xbox Series X, running at 3. Yes, the Xbox Series S CPU is faster than the PlayStation 5. Says the PlayStation, and then here it goes. The PlayStation 5 digital has 100% more bandwidth, 125% more powerful GPU, 129% fast. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, go ahead and tell us that it's faster. And then we know what the truth was. Just because they confirmed it, and here's his basis. Here's his write out of why he confirmed this. Here's his basis. This article right here, it says it all. It talks about that people were saying that how developers were saying that the Series S was going to hold back next gen gaming because people had to support the Series S, which was a serious bottleneck, and that was going to cut into development time. And if people only had to plan for the Series X and the PlayStation 5, that it would lead to smoother development and a whole host of other capabilities. And he lists all the complaints that people had, but this is how he rebuts it. He says these concerns, and when I say people, I'm talking about developers. He lists all the complaints that the developers, the people that make games, and they have no incentive of just hating on Xbox. They're trying to make money off the platform. They're making the games for, why would I make a game for a platform that I'm going to hate on? If I'm selling my product somewhere, don't I want the product to sell there? Why would I want it to lose money there? Because then I'm losing money. It doesn't make any sense that people are making games for Xbox only to lie about the platform so it doesn't sell. That doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't even bother making games for the platform if I'm going to lie on it and ultimately make my game sell less than what it was capable of selling. That doesn't make any sense. He says, this is what he says: these concerns all seem reasonable. On paper, the memory and GPU differences look like big gaps, but the reality is a little bit more. He says, but the reality is a little bit more complicated when you consider Microsoft is aiming for 1440p resolutions on Series S, not the 4K. That the reality is not more complicated. It is not more complicated. The devs have told you what is going on. The majority of devs have told you what the problem was. Here's where it gets more atrocious. He's talking about crap like, well, you know, Microsoft is relying on techniques called sampler feedback streaming in the series. Have we heard about this sampler feedback? In any of the Digital Foundry analysis, have we heard about how this is propelling performance for the Series S and Series X? No. It's just verbiage that being fed to them by their chief architect. What's his name? Ronald. I believe that's what his name is. Let me, what is this guy's name? I forget his name. Is it J. Ronald? I think it's J. Ronald. Jason Ronald. So instead of looking at instead of going off the details that the devs give you, he speaks the gospel based off of Jason Ronald, who was selling you the propaganda. And he concludes, so will the Series X hold back next gen games? Probably not. No, it's not going to hold back next gen games. Now this is what he goes by. This one developer who hasn't made large scale games at the level of what people are complaining or saying. He's making smaller scale games where the issues that they're running into with the memory wouldn't be as prominent in what the games that he's making than they are for someone like a Remedy who's complained about, what the Series S doesn't provide in the, because of the CPU. It says, or the memory. Now, this Gavin Steves is co-owner and design lead of an indie studio Team Blur game. Anybody with even a little experience will tell you as such. The reality is that the Xbox Series S will require developers to balance and scale their games, just like many already do across the choice of hardware, PC gaming, and existing Xbox and PlayStation consoles. What that statement says a lot, but it addresses nothing. What it doesn't address is, look, the developers mainly said, get rid of the Series S. Xbox even contemplated not having a Series S, but having xCloud being sold at retail as the supplement until Stadia came out. The aforementioned Stadia came out, and then they said, oh no, we can't have this as our product that we're retailing when Stadia is able to do what they're doing, right? That's led to the infamous Phil Spencer saying in the Fortune magazine interview, would you ship that? Talking about xCloud. What that statement by Gavin doesn't address is the memory bottlenecks and stuff that well accomplished developers like Sebastian, I believe his name is, from Remedy Games. Again, what's the name? What else? And people from Larian Studios with Baldur's Gate, like Baldur's Gate 3 performs better on the PlayStation 5. Baldur's Gate 3 was delayed coming to Xbox because of the Series S. What are we talking about? Now, there was a scenario where they had to cut and try to, squeeze this thing on the Series S so much that they did find some inefficiencies in the game that used a little bit more RAM than needed. And that was just an what do you call that? A coincidental byproduct of them having to spend more time with the Series S. It wasn't necessary for the game to run. Like, if Series S was not in the picture, it wasn't necessary for the Series S. I mean, for the Series X or the PlayStation 5. It was necessary for the Series S. So if it wasn't for the Series S, Baldur's Gate 3 launches simultaneously on Xbox and PlayStation. So what are we talking about? It is holding back gaming. It is causing a multitude of problems with console development. Even worse, so much so that people of the premium Xbox product had to wait because of parity requirements with the Series S. And those parity requirements couldn't even be met. Split screen isn't even available on the Series S. I truly think people like Tom Warren, and it doesn't stop there. There's more. Let's show you. Tom Warren wrote an article, and they were talking about that article. He says, here's what to expect from Microsoft's tiny little new console. Microsoft revealed its Xbox Series S console, aiming to offer more budget-friendly next-gen gaming for $299. The console is specifically targeted at 1440p resolution rather than 4K, leading to some lingering questions and confusion. It says, I got a chance to speak with Jason Ronald, Microsoft's director of programming, to dig into what's really going on. And he says, and the poster of this article says he doesn't speak to third-party devs. He speaks to Jason Ronald, the guy directly working. And yeah, exactly. He's listening to the propagandists. And I think we got one more article here. No, I think this is the same article. Yep, that's the same article. But yeah, Tom Warren also said, and then he put in a post that was infamously being spread on YouTube. I mean, on Twitter, where he said, "What is going to happen when the Xbox Series S outperforms the PlayStation? Like, what are gamers going to do? What are PlayStation? Something to that effect." A lot of propagandized information where, again, he doesn't do the research. I would have sat down with some of these developers and said on a promise of anonymity, this developer said this developer, we took what you, if you're doing a proper Xbox story on what's going on with the Series S, you're taking Jason Ronald's rebuttal, and then you're taking it back to the developers and say, I'm going to go on the record with what you're saying, but I'm not going to say that you said it. But again, you phrase it like to figure out what's really going on. You're speaking matter of fact. And it's lies, because look at what we have in our hands. Now, with all that said, to underscore the lies, we now have these same propagandists, these creators, and even content journalists now are pumping this story about a next-gen Xbox coming in 2026. In about 2 years, right? Or 3 years. And they're now celebrating this. And they're saying this is the strategy that would propel Xbox over PlayStation as far as consoles are sold. Why is this something that you would promote? Or why would you listen to these people, rather, when they already tried to sell you a bag of goods here that was totally false? I'm going to tell you what you're getting with this new console, regardless of when it releases. You're getting a dongle. You're getting an NVIDIA Shield Pro. When they talk about AI and machine learning and upscaling, you don't know what that means. You think this is going to be some robot that talks to you and that you can feed discs in and it'll dance and play games at 16K. No. Because you haven't done your research, because you follow people like Tom Warren, who doesn't report to you in totality the facts behind the things that he publishes, you don't understand that that all the language that they're talking about in this next hybrid is the equivalence to a NVIDIA Shield Pro. If you don't know what a NVIDIA Shield Pro is, here's what it is. And go look it up after this podcast. It is a string box that uses AI and machine learning to try to enhance the output in resolution, graphics, and frames that you get. So you're getting an NVIDIA Shield Pro. Maybe a little bit more powerful. But the end result is all based upon the core structure of xCloud. And if that still runs half-assed because it's based off the console, right? Like the reason why the NVIDIA Shield Pro can give you output of 4K 120 frames per second at ultra settings is because the supercomputers that they run off have those capabilities. xCloud is currently running off of Xbox Series X consoles. So unless Xbox is willing to make new servers off of different technology, like unless they're coming up with new server racks altogether that are now going to reach these SuperPod, the NVIDIA GeForce SuperPod capabilities, unless they get that and completely rework how their server blades are set up and stuff like that, xCloud via this new dongle, this new console, it might give you slightly better or comparable experience to what the Series X was supposed to do. It might not even be as good, but it'll be able to play next gen games. It'll probably give you a more solid 60 frames per second. You know what I mean? It might be slightly better. Who knows? But that's what you're getting. Even though that's where everyone's backtracking to. So with that said, let me conclude with this. The conclusion is you can't trust creators nor journalists nowadays. Creators want to be paid shills, or they want to take advantage of the listening public because y'all don't do the research. And journalists simply want clicks. So now they're as you saw in this example that I provided today, now they're piggybacking off of the lies that are being told by creators. It's a completely changed dynamic. It's not where creators are, trying to give you more fact-based information that the journalists simply overlook. Creators are just trying to give you some sensationalized stuff. Reporters are now trying to feed on that because that's getting clicks. You got to find safe havens for your information. I gave you an example. If you're a pro Xbox person, I'm sorry I can't give you a whole bunch of examples, but let's see, Arthur Giles. He's going to be your best bet. He's your best bet, or just Rebel FM. There's a bunch of PlayStation enthusiasts on Rebel FM. Xbox enthusiasts on Rebel FM. Let me see if I can find Rebel FM podcast. Rebel FM podcast. Let's see here. Let me see. Rebel FM podcast, if I can find it. Yes, Rebel. Let me see if I can find it. Rebel FM. Well, just look up Rebel FM podcast. Look them up. That's the here they go on Libsyn. Here goes their Libsyn link. Let me put it up here. Yeah, Rebel FM podcast. Last episode was this past Friday. Yeah, if you're an Xbox enthusiast, I would definitely go to them. They're like mainstream industry people. Like he's the co-creator of Polygon. So go check him out. And Polygon, I think, they're not always the best, but I think they're a little bit more fair sight than others. You know what I mean? I prefer them over. I'll take them over a VGC any day. But you go to, these are industry people, but these are industry people that latch onto facts. So I definitely will follow them. That's the best. I'm sorry. That's the best I can give you as far as it relates to Xbox people. When it comes to PlayStation, there are a lot of PlayStation, I favor PlayStation. There's a lot of PlayStation people that I favor. But if you want the most accurate interpretation of the facts and you lean Xbox, my two suggestions would be Reforge Gaming. I know people pile on to him because he's not from the crumb side. He's not, and this is not an industry dude. These are like, when it comes to PlayStation, I feel like that your best bet is to go to the content level creators. I would go to Reforge Gaming. His interpretation of what's going on is always not just refreshing, but it's the most factual. Because as the dust settles, you find a lot of the stuff that he talks about coming to fruition. And then Porter Rock. I think Porter Rock still is the de facto PlayStation when it comes to parsing what's going on in the news. I like What's Up podcast, but that's more like a fan favorite podcast where, PlayStation enthusiasts go to talk about PlayStation, what's going on with PlayStation. They're not always, just overly positive on PlayStation, but that's more like a fan appreciation podcast, which is still great content. You could try them too, but I'm just saying, if you're looking for parsing of the news and you're trying to get past all the smoke and mirrors, I think the best sources for PlayStation are those two. The best source for Xbox is Rebel FM. I'm sorry, you can't, I can't give you more, because people are trying to pilfer the Xbox community and use them to their advantage, because there's no other way to say it. Some of the gullible nature that's there. All right. With that said, that's enough for the podcast. We are out today. Thank you so much. Don't forget here. Let me show you guys something. We got, if you're a Patreon member, we're going to give access to our Patreon members first. And then for those of you that are subscribers elsewhere, you get access to the content as well. I'll put it in the Discord soon enough. But we got some great content out here today. It is, let's see here. Factions 2 canceled in the next gen Xbox 2026. We talk about that and the rebirth. The rebirth of the Prognosis. The Prognosis is back. It is now going to be strictly members plus content. That is content for those that are subscribed here to Hard Knock Digital Culture. If you're a member, you get access. We're going to give access to you via the Discord. So make sure that if you're a member, you link up your Discord access and your Twitch account, because then you'll get access via the Discord. Also, we're going to give access to our Cloud Dosage members. And then if you're a Patreon member, you got access to it now. So definitely check that out. Okay. All right. With that said, we appreciate everybody. Till next time, have a wonderful gaming day. Peace. Hold on, we got a couple of comments from Cold Blood. I'm going to read up here. Cold Blood says, Series S punches way above its weight by giving us last gen performance, but calling itself next gen. And he says, dude, what are these dumb rumors about an Xbox already in 3 years in Zen 5? Bro, we're doing this full RD. Exactly. But that's why I'm saying people need to go, like Arthur Gals and them, they weren't giving that any oxygen. They talked about it and they were like, ha ha ha, and they moved past it. Where you had other content creators, we know who I'm talking about, Cold Blood, that were giving that all the attention in the world. All right, with that said, I'm out. Till next time, have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.